By now, you have probably heard about flag theory. If you haven't, it's a philosophy, a strategy, and really a way of life that enables almost anyone to break free from the system, pay less or even no tax completely legally, and to live anywhere in the world that they want. But in reality, it is so much more. It's a way to grow and protect your wealth. It can be a way of starting over from old mistakes. But most importantly, it's a way to diversify different parts of your life to the place in the world that makes the most sense for that particular part of your life. And we'll talk about why that's important in just a moment. We have talked about flag theory and becoming a perpetual traveler in other videos. But today on Renegade News, we're breaking down the details on exactly what it means and how you can have this jet-setter lifestyle starting sooner than you ever imagined. Welcome back to Renegade News. I'm your host, Glenn Kowalski. Every week on this channel, we discuss how entrepreneurs and other freedom lovers just like you can build cancel culture-proof businesses, create a bigger impact in their business and in the world, and completely break free from the system. So let's just jump right into it. The principle of flag theory is overall pretty simple. It started with 3 flags years and years ago, but has grown into 8. We're going to discuss the first 7 today, and we're reserving the 8th for its own video, so watch out for that one as well. The idea behind all of the flags, though, is the same. Position yourself so that it doesn't matter where you are or where you're from, because it appears as if you're somewhere else or from somewhere else. I think of flag theory as an international identity, and by the end of this video, you'll understand why. But an international identity is much more than just the flag theory, so I've created a report called the International Identity Playbook that you can download for free. I'll put a link to it in the first pinned comment. But flag theory relates to planting separate flags for different parts of your life. The first flag is the second passport flag. And basically that's there because if you aren't a borderless multinational these days, someone who can hide in plain sight, you could be royally screwed. And you're completely owned by whoever and whatever your country you're residing in. A second passport is an important part of diversifying your life internationally, simplifying visa-free travel, or giving you the right to live and work in another country or a group of countries. So for example, the European Union, where being a passport-carrying member of any EU nation means that you can live or work not only in that nation, but in any other EU nation with no application or permit process required. Another one is Mercosur in South America, whose member nations include Argentina, Brazil, Uruguay, Venezuela, and Paraguay. Now, while that Mercosur is fundamentally an economic treaty, holding a passport from one of the member countries does simplify traveling to, from, and among those other countries. Another is CARICOM, which is a group of Caribbean nations where you can travel around more easily if you come from, or in other words, have a passport from, one of the member countries. ASEAN is a similar group that's in Asia, and others exist around the world. You also need a second passport if you want to give up your current citizenship. You can't be what's called stateless and not having a state at all. If you're considering formal expatriation, the first step is to acquire a second passport. Without that, your home country won't even let you renounce your citizenship. But even if they did, no other country would let you into their borders, and you'd be forced to live as a fugitive wherever you are. There are several ways to get this second passport, but some of the most common methods are through marriage or through ancestral descent. So for example, many countries have a rule similar to this, but if you can prove that you're Irish, Jewish, or have Italian ancestors, you're likely eligible for citizenship in Ireland, Israel, and Italy, respectively. And Italy actually gives you total EU access. Another option is to buy citizenship through investment or a golden visa program. Several countries have this: Austria, Antigua and Barbuda, Canada, Cyprus, Dominica, Grenada, Greece, Jordan, Nevis, Malta, Moldova, New Zealand, Portugal, Spain, Turkey, the US, and Vanuatu. And finally, the other common method of doing it is through naturalization. So, which in other words just means to wait it out by living in the country legally for a specific number of years as a permanent resident, and then you qualify to apply for a full citizenship. Usually this takes between 5 and 10 years, but it can be less depending on where you are. Some of the countries that allow this are Argentina, Armenia, Belize, Brazil, Canada, Costa Rica, the Dominican Republic, Honduras, Nicaragua, Mexico, Uruguay, Panama, Paraguay, Thailand, Portugal, and a whole variety of other EU countries. The next flag that you want to plant is where your residency is, and this is your legal residency. And the purpose of a second residency is to get all the benefits of living in some place without all of the tax obligations that come along with citizenship. When you're looking at where you want to plant this flag, you need to consider the following 2 important things. First of all, can that residency lead to a second citizenship through naturalization, which may or may not be important, depending on where you planted that other flag? And what are the tax consequences of your chosen residency? So for example, in Colombia, they tax their residents on their worldwide income after they have 5 years of residency. And that country also imposes a wealth tax. Now that tax doesn't kick in until around 1.7 million US dollars at the current exchange rates, but it is a possibility depending on the place you are in life. So establishing a backup residency in Colombia may not make sense unless you happen to plan to spend a whole lot of time in Colombia anyway. Some great examples of common countries for second residency are Panama, Georgia, Dominican Republic, and Malaysia, and those are popular because they're really easy to set up residency in. Then you have Andorra, Bahamas, Malta, Monaco, Montenegro, and Vanuatu, and those are popular because there's no or very low personal income tax. And the final sort of group is places like Costa Rica, Panama, or Singapore, because they have a territorial tax system, which means that you only pay taxes on dollars that are generated within that country. The third flag is your offshore company or an offshore business. And that flag is all about where you earn your money. And ideally, that's somewhere that has a low corporate tax rate, or it could be a jurisdiction that allows you pass through corporate income to yourself, and you have a personal residency with that last flag in a country with low or no income tax. Now, where you incorporate your business is usually not where you have your office and operate your business under this type of a strategy, but by creating a legal business entity like a trust, a foundation, an LLC, or a company, you can both save on taxes and protect your assets. Most advisors suggest that this is the flag that you should be planting first because a company or a corporation has multiple uses, things like setting up a tax base, carrying debts and liabilities, buying property or other assets, transacting business outside your own name, opening bank accounts. Now be aware that banking in certain countries can actually hurt your business association, so that's something to keep in mind with. It can also help you to gain citizenship, establish privacy, and allow you to gift assets and many more other benefits. Some of the really popular locations for these offshore businesses are the British Virgin Islands, Bahrain, Estonia, Georgia, Hong Kong, Nevis, Panama, and Singapore. The fourth flag is your offshore banking flag. And this is where you keep your money. And by doing this properly, you're taking advantage of tax breaks from having your funds and assets in another country. Ideally, you would park your assets somewhere with safe banks and low taxations, and preferably no or low capital gains on passive income. The best way to protect your assets is through diversification, which means creating various piles of cash instead of relying on just one bank. Now, before you go choosing an offshore bank, consider and compare the following country factors. You want to look for privacy. You want to look at their taxing policy and their taxes. You want to look for potential or current currency controls, which are becoming more and more reality in more and more places. You want to have bulletproof asset protection. You want to have a safe social and economic political agenda within that country. That country should have a good reputation. Some places that are really popular for offshore banking because of their strength are Andorra, Belize, which has run into a little bit of trouble in that reputation department over the last few years. There's the Cayman Islands, Gibraltar, Nevis, Hong Kong, Panama, Singapore, and Switzerland. The fifth flag, that's a fun one. That's your playground or where you want to spend your time. It's where you want to spend your money. And ideally, it's somewhere that has a low VAT, a low consumption tax, and it has an affordable cost of living. And it's a place that you really like and where you want to spend your time or even potentially buy an offshore property that you actually want to live in. You want to think about things like crime, personal freedom, climate, healthcare, infrastructure, and the services that are going to be available to you. The world is your oyster, so pick a place, pack your bags, and move. Believe me, as a multiple year expat, it's amazing the opportunities that you can find. Another thing to think about with planting this playground flag is it doesn't have to be in just one place and it doesn't have to be forever. And right now there's a ton of countries that are offering things like digital nomad visas. And over the past 3 years, this has really expanded. And that's made it easier than ever for online entrepreneurs, freelancers, and remote workers to work and travel internationally. And you can plant your flag for 18 months in one place and move to another if that's the type of lifestyle that you're looking for. Some of these places with these digital nomads visas are Antigua and Barbuda, Barbados, Bermuda, Cayman Islands, Costa Rica, Croatia, the Czech Republic, Dubai, Estonia, Georgia, Germany, Iceland, Portugal, and Spain. And Panama is also getting one as well, and there's a few other ones. A couple of other countries that you consider include Cambodia, Colombia, Dominican Republic, Egypt, Mexico, Spain, Tanzania, Thailand, Turkey, Vietnam, and most of Eastern Europe really is getting more and more of these digital nomad types of visas. The sixth flag is a newer flag because it refers to your digital assets. So think your cryptocurrency. And if you want to move to a different country and you're a cryptocurrency miner, an investor, or a trader, and even more if you're a crypto anarchist, it is very essential for you to consider the crypto jurisdiction, their regulations, and their tax laws when you want to move there. And this is not always as straightforward as it seems. For example, in Portugal, personal or individual crypto trades are exempt from capital gains, income taxes, and VAT. And that sounds great, right? However, those tax exemptions don't apply to businesses like cryptocurrency exchanges, crypto or blockchain startups, and crypto hedge funds who have to pay a usual rate of about 21% on their income. What you want are crypto-friendly countries that support and accept Bitcoin and other digital currencies and encourage crypto payments for qualifying payments, or that have a low tax on crypto trading. For example, the British Virgin Islands, Bulgaria, Estonia, Georgia, Liechtenstein, Malta, New Zealand, Portugal, Sweden, and Vanuatu. Next, we have the digital security flag. That's a flag that's super important for us here at Renegade News. So for intellectual property, your IP, your privacy, and your protection, you want to establish a company in a country that will house your IP economic rights. Some of the popular countries are Bermuda, Cyprus, Dubai, Hungary, and Luxembourg. For cancel-proof businesses of privacy, not so much for establishing a country, but for hosting your digital business assets like your website, we're working closely with Finland and Iceland, and we love that both those options, depending on your goals, but they have really strong freedom of speech and really strong privacy laws. Now, flag theory has been around for a long time. It started with just 3 flags, but with technology and changing rules everywhere, it's increased to really 7 popular. A few people have different views on that, or it has increased to 8 in the way that we look at it. And we're going to have another video, like I said, specifically about what we're considering the 8th flag. And as we've seen recently with more and more draconian control and often crazy rules limiting freedom of speech, it's more important than ever to have a Plan B insurance policy in your back pocket, even if you don't plan on ever really leaving. Look at a very recent court case that was related to freedom of speech, where a certain media personality lost a judgment of close to $1 billion for daring to exercise his freedom of speech to question the current narrative. Now, regardless of what you think of this individual, that's important. That still sets a terrifying precedent. I mean, you can question a narrative and get fined billions of dollars. So even if you don't plan on going anywhere, having multiple flags planted can act as a Plan B insurance policy for your life. But it's really only one step to creating a cancel-proof business and making the impact that you want in your world. So subscribe to Renegade News right now, where we discuss things like cancel culture, cryptocurrency, breaking free from the system, and much more. And check out the video you see on the screen right now for more information on creating a Plan B with multiple flags. I'm Glenn Kowalski from Renegade News, and I'll see you over there.